Hello and welcome. Let's talk about fantasy basketball, that of daily fantasy, how I like to create lineups, and cryptocurrency as well. For I'll be using No Limit Fantasy Sports, the world's first crypto fantasy sports platform. I go by the name of XAGBTC Fan. I got 6,707 and a half of these coins worth $67.81. Basically one. And it's actually worth more than that. This is a misprint for what it's worth. It's worth close to 1.3 cents at this time. And what we're going to be doing is putting lineups in together. I'm going to be playing the rebound 100 and the 500 game. I'll play 5 lineups here. I'm allowed to play 5. I'll play 2 of these lineups today. I usually play 1. The reason why I'm playing 2 is because I've had 2 very good days in a row. I had 4,000 of these the day before. I made 2,700. So I'm going to be putting 1,500 of those back at risk for tonight's play. There's already a decent amount of people playing. Normally, it's relatively low. But there's times when it goes higher, and I like to see that. Even though it hurts my overlay, it really helps the site. And I want to see these games grow. I want to see more people come into play. Right now, because the overlay it works out that it's not uncommon to get 30, 40, 50, 60% return on investments long term for the average person. Of course, skill will increase or decrease that. So let's enter a lineup, and I'm going to create a new team. This is, they got the exact same prices of DraftKings, and we have lineups in here. It's set up that you put in a point guard, shooting guard, small forward, just like it would be on DraftKings. The difference here is nobody has split positions, so you have to put them in the correct positions. Some other sites that I'm going to be needing. One will be most certainly RotoWorld. And in here I can get the quick headlines, see what's going on for today. So we can see that Karl Anthony Towns is listed as probable, which to me is bad news. Although it's good for him that he's playing. It's just I like when star players are not playing and other players get an opportunity to play, thus I can pick up players at cheaper cost. Damian Dotson, this is how he did yesterday. Mitchell Robinson came off the bench for 15. Oh, I mean, I should have. I did well yesterday, and I was going to play him heavy, but I knew he was going to probably have a good day. So there's not much out here. I can see Karl Anthony Towns is probably going to play. As far as injuries here, uh, Dieng is not on the injury report. Obviously, we've heard about Karl Anthony Towns. Draymond Green is probable. Prince will not play Monday. He's not much of. That doesn't mean much. I don't think. No, he's been out for a while. Yeah, Darius Miller questionable. George Hill has been ruled out. That will mean even more minutes and goodies for both Eric Bledsoe, Brogdon, Duval, and DaVincenzo. I'm going to copy his name right now because I'm going to use it in a different website. There we go. And what we're going to do is look at that other website, which is Basketball Reference. Basketball Reference has a whole bunch of different things. Here we got team stats, but I like the opponent stats. Now, I've already put this data into a spreadsheet, but we can see in spots here, like for example, it's easy to steal the ball against Atlanta. It's not so easy against Minnesota. So if you're playing a player who's good in steals and they're playing against Atlanta, and you basically, Atlanta's got one of the worst stats overall, 118 points allowed. We can see here that teams like Atlanta at 18, Washington, Phoenix, New Orleans, Sacramento. These are teams you want to play players against. Where Indiana, 103, great defensive team. Memphis, Miami. Used to be San Antonio years ago. We used to be so stingy. But we're in a day and age now where 103 is the lowest. But you generally don't want to play players against this. But it's only for a few percentage points. We'll get to this in a bit, but those stats, because I've already got those in a spreadsheet. But I want to paste George Hill in here. He's so what I can do is I can see things like his game log stats, and I can see things. Well, before we do that, sometimes you're going to want to look into splits, and for veterans, I'll look at both this year and their career. for any situation that may be relevant. One of the most important ones is the rest. How do they do when they have no days, 1 days, or multiple days? And in what situation are they in for that as today? Maybe started in reserve. We can see here 13 games as a starter. He plays 6 more minutes when he starts. Does he get more points? Well, 2.8 to 2.2. He gets less rebounds, gets double the amount of points. Definitely key things. But I want to look at his game log. Because if he's not playing, what happens when that's the case? We'll go game log. We'll go 2018-19. He was inactive in the early parts of the season. And he hasn't been inactive since. So the team has got big complexity changes as it is. What position does he play? He plays that of point guard. So we're looking at other ones who can fill in at the shooting position, at the perimeter. Let's go in the spreadsheet now, because I've put the data in here. I've copied and pasted it. Now, what we do for fantasy, this is really easy. I'll take points. I'll subtract half the turnovers because you get negative half. I'll add these numbers twice each, the blocks and steals, because you get 2 points each for that. I'll add this, but 1.5 times. Rebounds times 1.25. 3-pointers, you get half a point per 3 point, so I'll basically, not percentage, the 3-point made. So you get 6.1 for this game that they'd allow. So the Atlanta Hawks, using those formulas up here, allow 245.65 points a game. We can see in here, just at an overall fantasy level, how it works out. See how big of a difference it really is from top to best. And right now we can see it's about 15%. So we'll sort column A, and we'll do it by descending. So therefore, Atlanta, Phoenix, Washington, New York, Sacramento, New Orleans, they're the ones that are going to do well. At the bottom, we can see the ones, the less shooting. Basically, you go by points. Don't want to play teams against these. So now let's go into the lineup, and we'll first take a look at how we look at the George Hill situation. And what I can do on here is I could go to a filter, and I can filter it by a team and just click on Cleveland, which is what I'm going to do. And now only Cleveland players are going to arrive. So therefore, they got him. What team is George Hill? Isn't that on Cleveland? Looks like Cleveland to me. See power forward on here? Not here. Not here. Did he change teams? I mean, it looks to me like he was on Cleveland. Let's search him. Oh, he's on Milwaukee now. Okay. And I've been doing this for 2 months. I'm doing well, though. I'm doing well. So then, let's filter this by Milwaukee now. How did I miss that? Let's just go to his game log again. See, Team Cleveland. I thought it said he didn't get traded. Oh, he did get traded midway through the season. Okay. Well, in this game here, he hasn't missed a game since he went over to Milwaukee. I got it now. Okay, so then let's search for players on Milwaukee. Eric Bledsoe, man, he had 2 really bad games in a row, and he did okay his last one. I mean, 7 and 9.25 for his last 2 games before that. Do I trust him? Let's just 6,400. whatever for a cost. We got Brogdon here at 54. Consistently scoring 30s. But how do we give you extra minutes when you're already playing 30? Maybe our usage rate goes up, but it's George Hill. He's a we're just looking at a new backup is all we're looking at. Does this mean this guy's going to come in and play? Maybe. Maybe. I don't know why he's not playing at all. Maybe shooting guard. The point guards, shooting guards go together. Centers and power forwards go together, and the small forwards are kind of wild card. But usually I would mix them mainly between the ones that are to the left and right. This is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spot. So the 1 and 2 go together. The 2 and 3 sort of do, as well as the 3 and 4. And then the 4 and 5 definitely go together as well. So as far as shooting guards, Tony Snell, he might be the one that could get some extra minutes in. But with Tony Snell, you just don't play him. Even, oh my goodness, even at the minimum cost of 3,000. So, okay, let's now look at this on a position by position basis. Get some players in here. I like to start off with cheap costs. I don't want Harden at all. What's Chris Paul at 8,300? I don't see how I don't play him again. He's just doing it every game. I'm hoping that Harden is out. With Luka Doncic out, he's been out for 2 consecutive games in a row. So therefore, who's the Dallas guy that's going to come in if he's not going to play? Well, let's go and find the Dallas situation again. What shooters over the last 2 games have benefited from such? We got Jalen Brunson, who's a 3,900 cost. Well, he's put up 23 and 34. And even before then, he put up 17, 20, and just good scores around that 20 number. And that 20 number, when I first did a fantasy lineup, the very first time, I think I knew maybe 3 guys in the NBA maybe 4 or 5 years ago. I just put in 4 guys at 3,000-ish, and I put 4 guys at the top range, and I was getting decent scores right from the get-go. And I figured if you get 20 points at 3,000, that's good enough for me. Well, we're looking at 30% more. So 25 points maybe? 24 points? And to me, I think that's a safe number. So I look at it by putting him in now, which is what I'm going to do. If we have Luka out, it's great. If Luka's not out, it's satisfactory play. Of course, we're going to be talking about news coming out throughout the day within this video. And I want to take a look at more point guards. Let's look at some of these guys. I'll quickly look. Who do I think is worth playing? Now, Chris Paul, I'm going to still try to get him in my lineup. Drew Holiday is usually pretty good. He's not that expensive at 7,700. He gets some pretty good scores. Who else do we have on here? Reggie Jackson, probably not. Jordan Clarkson, not really. Colin Sexton. He had a bad game, but he's coming off of 239s recently. He's got a 28 before that, a 27, 37, 41. Not bad. He's got a decent enough price tag at 5,100 for that kind of output. So he's definitely a playable guy. DeLon Wright, coming from the Toronto Raptors. With this new team, his first game he plays 23 minutes, he gets 12 and 3/4. He's going to get more used to this team as he goes. In 5 games, it's been really good. Then he puts up 26 on a 34-minute spot. Puts up 29 on a 26-minute spot. Puts up 14.5, a really underwhelming score. And then 30 1/4. So we have 26, 29, 30. We have an average that's looking in the area right now. We got to think he's a 25, 26 point player at least. Throwing in the fact that there's this one variant here. And it's really hard to count this game. But we got a small sample size. But even before his last 2 games with Toronto, he put up 24 and a 17 and 26 and 20. And fantasy points per minute are very important in this game as well. 3,800. I don't see how I don't play him. But let's look at some other guys. I'm probably going to push that draft button before I go to shooting guard. We got Ish Smith. Another one amongst this list. Very, very, very good player in the past. Up and down, yes. 39 and 25 minutes, spectacular. Okay. How about some of these opponents now? Who are Ish Smith playing? He's playing Indiana. What do we know about Indiana? They're good. Not so great. Lakers. Okay, they're not spectacular by any means, so I'm confident here. Jalen Brunson is playing against the LA Clippers. Do we have the Clippers on any type of amazing run here? No, they're actually pretty much at the upper end for allowing points. Clippers rank seventh in this, and this would be eighth on this one because I have to subtract it by two, given that there's two empty rows. So definitely somebody who is definitely playable. They have their projections here. They're like whatever, but you say, oh, why do we have somebody projected for 20? I'm just going to want to take a look at Trey Burke. Interesting. Off of a 16 and a 33. A lot of value here. A lot of value. He got 35 here. But we also see 13 and a 13 with decent minutes. Why did he only play 5 minutes against Miami? I don't know. I'll throw off this 4. He had, what did he have? Some sort of injury here. But ever since he got back in the lineup, he's had one misfit of minutes game. And other than that, he's had two misfit score games. 3 misfit score games. And 2 very good scores. Basically getting 50% plus more than what you'd want from somebody in this spot. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in on my guard position right now that of DeLon Wright because he's still under 4,000. So I spent 39 and 38. My average is 7,050. Let's make that average go higher. And I still want to play Chris Paul. And I can only do that in my flex. But I'll be playing 5 different lineups. My top 2 lineups will go in the 500 game. So I'm going to probably mix them up here and there. I might just do... One thing you can do is you can have the exact 7 same players and then one lineup of Jalen Brunson, one of DeLon Wright. And mix it up in different ways like that. And I might even end up doing things like that. Let's take a look at shooting guard. Everybody right now is active. I don't even know who this guy is, so that doesn't mean anything to me that he's out. Let's sort this by salary. James Harden is questionable. Oh, we got shooting guard. Devin Booker is at the top at 8,600. This is a position that usually doesn't have too many great players. There's a couple that are pretty good, mainly Kevin Durant. We also got Bradley Beal, who's doing well. DeMar DeRozan's getting well. How did he do? 53 points, and I was going to play him big yesterday. And I still did well. I only played him in one small lineup. That's it. 53 points. I knew he was a solid play, though. Jimmy Butler, 71. Lou Williams, see? Whatever. He's also on a back-to-back. He's playing against Dallas. Who do we have here? Dwayne Wade is pretty reliable, safe, coming off a couple, well, not 3 of 4 last games are pretty weak. Now we're in the lower end, but that's what I want to see is lower end price guys. Anyone in here? These Marco Bellinelli guys, he had a bad game yesterday, but he's okay. And he's not playable today. Plus, he's in a back-to-back. Evan Turner, he's out for tonight's game. So, shooting guard on Portland. We got Rodney Hood. And they're up against Cleveland, too. But within the minutes he's getting, we talk about points per minute. 13 and 22, 10 and 19, 13 and 25, 9 and 16, 13 and 24, 20 and 25. He reminds me of when I was playing the NBA 2K game of I've got 4. I play one player. There's that one guy that just stands there and pretty much does nothing. That's who Rodney Hood would remind me of. Malik Monk was a guy I was trusting before back in the day, but he has been so cold lately. He's unplayable. But for a while back in January and into start of February, I was just playing him at like this price just because he was getting around 20 points. Tyreek Evans is questionable. He used to be really good. Avery Bradley, he had a couple games here, and then what happened here? His minutes went down, so I just want to wait and see on him unless I can get news that I know he's going to play. And if I get news that he's going to play, he's really cheaply priced. Justin Holiday, man, I got to put somebody in for now. My first lineups are usually never going to last. Sometimes they do, though. Eric Gordon, 37, 24, 30, 26, 25. If Harden is out, this guy is a beneficiary. I'm going to put him in my lineup right now. But if Harden plays, he's out. He's amazing, I think, tonight if he is going to be in play. Let's go to small forward now. LeBron James is in at 11,200. I'm putting in cheap guys so I can pay for guys like this. 64, 55, 77. He's just reliable to score big points. Chris Middleton, though, is somebody who is just getting the job done consistently. A very good mid-price guy. Somebody that I like. And remember, Eric Houston's playing Atlanta tonight, so I definitely want to get Chris Paul in there. But I was just thinking about Chris Middleton looking, okay, Milwaukee. Oh, yeah, you don't want to play against Milwaukee. Andrew Wiggins is good for tournaments. Up and down scores, he can get into 20. You don't see us 50 down here. He's an up and down guy. For games like this, because it doesn't fill too much, I want cash game style lineups. I want the safer the better in here. Anyone on the cheaper end? Let's take a look at this. We got, it's just loading some of the guys below. Reggie Bullock was somebody who had a couple decent games here, but his price tag for his inconsistency at 4,400 I think is a little bit too high. We got PJ Tucker playing against here as well. Another beneficiary. In fact, this guy might be somebody worth playing again. When we look at what's going on with him, he gets minutes. Always gets over 30 minutes. 46 and 36 against Golden State. He played on the 23rd, so we know he's got one night rest. That's always good to see. He really stunk it up against Los Angeles. 24 against Minnesota. 19 against Dallas. OKC 17. Sacramento 25. But if Harden is out, that means usage rates for everybody goes up. So therefore, let's take a look at PJ Tucker in here. Maybe he's played Atlanta before. They are, I think, in different conferences, so I don't think... Well, they might have had one game. Let's see if I can find Atlanta on here. Is this their first meeting of the season? It's late enough where they should be having their second. Recently, Toronto played San Antonio. I watched the pregame in the first 8 minutes of that game. Boy, was that ever fast. That was just an amazing game. No, they haven't played Atlanta. But you know what? He's definitely somebody you can put in the lineup. 8,400 average is left over. We got power forward, center forward, and Chris Paul. So let's take a look at the power forward position. Oh, I like Chris Paul, by the way, tonight. Giannis is doubtful. We got something. They didn't know he's probable, they thought they said. They says here doubtful. I'm going to be... No, Karl Anthony Towns. That's the guy. Yes. I get... Okay, so that's a difference of the two. So Giannis is out. Doubtful. Has he missed a game? You can also... He went by the name The Greek Freak at first. I don't think that was a name that was really all that good. But the reason why you had that name was... You go ahead and try to say his last name. I used to just call him Ante. I mean, Ante for a poker, because that's... And there's a whole bunch of letters after that. Ante and a whole bunch of letters after that I used to say. This guy's damn good, though. He is damn good. So he's a power forward. I'm going to be wanting to look for power forwards and centers in Milwaukee if he doesn't play. It also means that Milwaukee is going to be a little... Their defense is going to be a little bit more not as good. But has he missed a game? What I do is I go in here and I check. If I do, I want to see who performed. Now, this was a while ago, but he did miss this game against Toronto. In December, he missed a game against Cleveland, and he missed this game against Orlando. I know there's sites. I found one site out there that gives you stats when somebody's out, how they do. But I realize when looking at Milwaukee big guys, I'm going to be focusing on the Orlando game. So let's take a look right now. Let's go for Milwaukee. And let's take a look at the big guys. We got Mirotic. Oh, I don't know how I don't play him. He wasn't on the team then. I was playing him from day one. Day one, I was into fantasy big, and he came in, and I got some good plays on him when he started. I was playing him right from the start. Ursan Ilyasova, how did he do 5 days ago against us? Didn't do so well. Didn't do so. How about some of their centers on the backup position? Brook Lopez, how did he do? Another one is thinking, when you know somebody's out, who do you think has the most likelihood of being the biggest beneficiary? It's Nikola Mirotic. And at 5,400, I got a 9,400 average left. A little higher than that, actually, for a center and a forward. Because, obviously, Chris Paul is cheaper than 9,400. I was down on Chris Paul big time before his injury. I thought he was getting old. I thought he should have retired. Then he comes back and he looked good. And now with Harden out, he's just probably going to be better. Let's take a look at some of the other power forwards while we're here, because Anthony Davis is he's down to 8,100. You don't even touch him with a 10-foot pole. His minutes restriction is getting serious, 24, 15, 19. He's demanded to get out of New Orleans. Lauri Markkanen is very good and solid. 61, 46, 46, 51, 41. Just a magnificent player. And I might have to spend him or pay for him so that I can spend well over 10,000 at my center position. He might have to be in a different lineup too. Who else do we got the lower end? Cheick Diallo. Really? I mean, he's showing to be a fantasy. At least 17 minutes, 16 points, 26 minutes, 43, 18, 36. Even before here, 22 minutes, 31 points, 22 minutes, 34, 23, 31. How in the world, even at 4,800 increased price, do I not heavily consider this player? Anthony Davis really isn't playing. There's a lot of risk reward for it. The risk is something like the OKC game. I'm the Orlando, 0.75 and 13, 6.5 and 8. Maybe he doesn't get the minutes. Maybe Anthony Davis has a freak game where he's like, yeah, coach, I don't mind playing a bit more today, but only today. So there's a lot of risk in that. But how do I not play him in a few of my lineups? Ed Davis and Jam Michael Green are guys that I like. And I might be pronouncing some of these guys' names off. I barely even watch the sport. I like math, though, and this is numbers. And I like numbers. We also got Ed Davis, who used to be somewhat solid in this, but you know what? Yeah, he's doing okay. 21, 29, 25. Just getting the points you need at the bottom end pricing scale. Definitely somebody in play for that. Kenneth Faried can get the good points on Houston. And then if James Harden's out, I mean, everybody's usage rate goes up because James Harden is a usage rate monster. Probably the best offensive player in the game. His defensive might lack a little bit of whatever. Joel Embiid is out, which is big. He's been out for 2 games. So who are the beneficiaries when Joel Embiid is out? Let's check out Philadelphia, and it's the guy that what's his name? I wish I could. I should be able to know it. It's the guy they just got in a trade. So let's go to team and go to Phila. Boban time. It's Boban time. But he had a bad game there. 19. Oh, but did Embiid? Yeah, he missed the last 2. Boban sucked. Bobin sucked. He had 14.75. He had 38 and 27, which is good, but he's 5,500 though. Who do we got at power forward? We got Mike Scott. He got 24.5 points in 29. He got 7 and 16. Not liking it. Yona Bolden. He caught 15 and 4.5. Not liking it. And B, I wish you could play. I want to play you tonight, but nothing here. How about in the small forward position? Tobias Harris, consistent at a 6,800 price. I mean, this is totally an off-position player for James Reddick. I guess if you want to trust him, I don't trust Bobin with a 10-foot pole tonight. I think I was a victim of having played him before in the last game. Man, that sucks. I guess it's going to be... Andre Drummond is really good, really consistent. I mean, you got the 40 score here, but 53, 50, 66, 64. And that's going to get me a good forward if I put him in. I might have to take off one of my low-end guys here and replace it with a mid-place player. Jonas Valanciunas, 64 point per minute freak. His price tag is going up. Hassan Whiteside. Look at those up and down choppy moves. I don't think I want to... He's got... That's been Whiteside for a while. I think on the side of caution I wouldn't want to play him. DeAndre Ayton. Problem with Ayton is he's a little too consistent, and with 11 game slate, I kind of want guys who got more upside. Now, Clint Capella coming off of 2 games, doing okay, but nothing too spectacular. Yusuf Nurkic, 44 and 48, is off of a 26 recently. Does pretty good. Now, who is he playing against? He's playing against Cleveland. Cleveland sucks. He might be an interesting spot tonight. And Indiana's a good defensive team as well. Now, for Karl Anthony Towns, though, he's just getting whatever points. I don't think I want to touch Towns if he's playing. So I think Nurkic might be the guy to play. So then, we got a flex and a Chris Paul position left. And a delete. So we're going to get... Who do I want? DeLon Wright or Jalen? I'm going to take DeLon Wright out. Let's put in Chris Paul in his guard position. But I will be playing DeLon Wright in other lineups. In fact, I might do this exact same lineup, do another one, and replace Brunson with DeLon Wright, as I was mentioning before. So we'll put Chris Paul in here, 8,300. 59, 55, 37, 44, 49, 40. If Harden is playing, he becomes playable. Someone who's worth playing. Someone you don't get too excited about playing. Someone who, if you were to bet on, if you have to choose between bet long or bet short against, I'm going to bet long for based on his price pivot point, or for an over under at 8,300. I want you to be able to crack into that 40 number. 38, 40 points. And I think he can easily get over that number. So with that taken off, we got an average of 7,900. Now we do got LeBron James here in action too. So, I forgot all about that. So let's put in LeBron James. And that would leave me with 4,600. And in a spot like this, because DeLon Wright's much cheaper, I can see what I can get for 46. But I can also see that, can I get anything better for 700 more? And I really don't see that. So what I want to do is, one, see what's available if I take out LeBron and just put 2 different guys in. But see what's available for 4,600. So to make this fast on another filter, I'm going to put a maximum price of 4,600. And we can see, Joakim Noah is an interesting fella. Yeah, Joakim Noah is interesting. Oh, 36 off of 47. Now, this was because of the trade. They traded Marcus Saul to the Toronto Raptors, which only leaves Jonas Valanciunas and Joakim Noah. Now, even with JV back in the lineup last game, he still got 23 minutes and 36 points. He got 20 minutes and 20 points here, 18 and 23 and 30 and 42. The former Chicago Bull is totally in play tonight. So this is going to be a lineup. This is going to be a lineup. So if you're playing me, you know this is my lineup, so be it, because there's a high chance this stays in play. In fact, I really don't see how I do exactly what I say. Do another lineup where I take Jalen out and I put DeLon in. So you got to know two of them probably. Now, whether it makes my 500, I don't know. Taj Gibson, an interesting fellow as well because he's been getting a few points. But with Towns out, that's why I like him. Joe Harris, I like Joe Harris. I watched him play against Toronto. This game here, he got 35 and a half points, which I thought was a disappointment because just like the game against San Antonio, I just watched the first 8 minutes of this game. And he put up like 17, 18 fantasy points. He was like he got like four shots from like downtown, a rebound and whatever else. He looked really good. But he's the type of player that he's the best 3-point shooter in the league. And whatever else he can get on top of that. Okay, so there's my first lineup. I'm going to push the save button. Your team is incomplete because you have selected one extra player in the flex position. Well, I've never seen this. Wide receiver? Okay, anyway. Oh, I didn't put a guy in. Okay. Duh. Let's draft him. Now let's save it. That's what I'm used to seeing. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this lineup in on, again, I want to play the 500 game. Whatever this top lineup what is, I might edit it here and there. It's going to be hard, but I might. I mean, I can definitely improve it if something comes to play to do it. So what I'm going to do in here is I'm going to go and enter this team like this. So now I'm in the 500 game. And apparently, I don't know if it registered in here. Let me just do a refresh. Should say 105, but I think that sometimes you register a league and it doesn't do it. Do it this way. Now it's in. But what I could do, and this is what I could do later on in the day, probably at around 6 o'clock, 6:30, is I'll register 4 more lineups here, 1 more lineup here. And what I'll do is I'll just take this lineup, go like this, enter the team, and then go from there. Now the reason why I'm waiting is because I might edit this lineup. So I'm going to start with my best lineup, and then how do I put additional lineups in along the way. So that is the strategy for doing such. Again, this is No Limit Fantasy Sports. I'm really looking forward to baseball season, which is actually this ball here, because I don't need to care about last minute news because this thing is going to go wild today with information. There's going to be a lot of great information that's going to give players you expect to start might not. Players are going to come in because of such, and all this is really big information to have. And oftentimes you're going to have late game switches where maybe as a late game you're not going to know like a game time decision. So you might have a strategy on that because at 9:30 tonight I can make changes for the games going on at 10 o'clock. And I might want to have a plan for that. Now that doesn't happen too often, if hardly ever at all. Thank you for tuning in. I'll put a link to this site in the more information box, but it's cryptofantasysports.com. To buy coins, for me, I get cryptocurrencies, and on the Bittrex site, you can buy NLC2 there and deposit them. When you go to My Balance, there is a deposit and withdrawal button. Have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.